We've just had the latest snapshot from the Office for National Statistics. Dominic O'Connell is back with us. Dom, how are they looking?
I think if you're a really, really glass half full person,
I am,
you might find reason for a slight smile in these numbers. So in June, these are the borrowing and spending numbers for June from the Office for National Statistics. I'll get it out eventually.
ONS.
ONS, thank you. In June, the government borrowed £16 billion, which does sound like a lot, but it is £8 billion less than the same month last year, which is a bit of a blowout month. Interest payments were £11.8 billion in the month, and so far this year, the government has borrowed £57.6 billion, which is £3 billion more than forecast by the OBR. So it's still a pretty gloomy picture, but there is that one ray of light that isn't quite as bad as it was last year. Income tax receipts were very strong, which is one of the reasons the number came down. But it is interesting, if you look at government spending, it is still growing. And if you look at benefit spending, in the month, the government spent £28.7 billion on benefits. That's 8.4% more than June last year.
So the benefit 28 billion.
28.7 billion on benefits. That's 8.4% more than the same month last year. Yes, that's all benefits.
Why are income receipts higher? Because that saved Rachel Reeves last year, I seem to remember.
Because we have the income tax thresholds frozen. We also have the higher national insurance contributions from employers. So all those things are leading to more money going into the government coffers.
And unemployment numbers this morning.
Yes, a pretty flat employment market revealed by this. The unemployment rate came in at 4.9%, which is a tiny bit less than was forecast. It was forecast to come in at 5%. The number of payrolled employees is down by 85,000 compared to the same month last year. 7,000 fewer vacancies. So a very flat, not much happening labour market. Perhaps not as bad as some thought, but that big disparity, which we've talked about before, in public sector pay versus private sector pay is still there. So in the private sector, average pay grew by 2.9%, so it's running roughly on a par with inflation.
Yeah.
In the public sector, 5.5%. So there's a big split between wage settlements in the private sector and the public sector.
Yeah, and that tends to annoy people in the private sector, in my experience. Dom, good to speak to you. We're back in an hour or so's time. That's Dominic O'Connell, our business correspondent.
It is 7:26. The last possible date Andy Burnham could hold a general election is August the 15th, 2029. So he has at most just over 3 years to turn Labour's fortunes around. The party is at a low ebb in the polls, though. The latest YouGov polling for the Times out this morning has Labour at 20 points behind both the Conservatives and Reform UK. But Andy Burnham won 3 terms as Greater Manchester Mayor, and he won the Makerfield by-election against tough opposition from Nigel Farage's party. So can he be the person who turns things around nationally? Peter Kellner is the former YouGov president and joins us now. Good morning.
Morning, Kate.
Before we start getting into the detail, how do voters feel about Andy Burnham as a person right now?
Those who have a view, Kate, rather like it. They think he's likeable, strong, decisive. But, and it's the important but, the biggest number in every case, the people say they don't know. So whereas Keir Starmer was actively disliked by every characteristic you could possibly measure, Andy Burnham suffers very, very little in terms of dislike or weakness. But half the country typically have yet to make up their mind. And it's how that half reacts once they see him as Prime Minister that I think will be decisive.
And that's so interesting. How do you think they might view the cabinet appointments then? Because I suppose that will help them make up their mind about Andy Burnham in the longer term. Some big losses, but some familiar faces.
Yes, Kate, but can I'm afraid most people listening to us now will have a pretty good idea about all the cabinet ministers and some knowledge of them. But the great British public really only knows 3 or 4 political figures at a time, and with all clarity. So for most people, this will be, well, we'll wait and see what they do, what they're like. But when you've got somebody like John Healey as Chancellor, he comes across, I think, both to the financial markets, which is important, and to the British public, which is at least equally as important, as a decent, safe pair of hands, a good man, trustworthy, like I suppose when I was young, an old-fashioned local bank manager, not that there are any of those nowadays. So in as far as one can make an early judgment, I think it's going to be pretty good.
When we talk about voters, and it's a really good point that about, lots of people don't know who Andy Burnham is, and lots of people don't really know or really care about who is in the top jobs in the cabinet. But what do people care about? What are the consistent priorities of voters in this country, if they shifted at all in the last 6 months?
Yes, one can look at this at two levels. One is the specific things, and it is the cost of living, getting by, having enough money at the end of the week or at the end of the month. And so the news today about VAT on electricity bills disappearing is a small but significant down payment, if you like, on what the Burnham government will do. But I think the reality is that he can do a number of little things, but he doesn't really have the money to do big things. So the other half of his appeal is going to be the story he tells. Does he create a narrative for his government, of which, as I say, today's electricity announcement is the first part, a narrative that you say, yes, I can see where he's trying to take us. We'll give him a bit of time to get it done. He can't get a lot done quickly, but I think he could create a narrative, a story that will enable people to say, yeah, I can go with that.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And just finally, Peter, I suppose the big question will be, and although we're not close to a general election in theory, how well might Andy Burnham fare against big characters like Nigel Farage of Reform UK, Kemi Badenoch of the Conservative Party? Do we have any indication of that yet?
Not really, because, as I say, about half the public don't really yet have a view about Andy Burnham. And so I think it's honestly far too early to tell. Get me back on, let's say, after the summer holidays in September or around the time of the party conference, and I think we'll start to have a fairly clear view, because we've also got Nigel Farage's by-election coming up next month in Clacton, and that seems to be going rather oddly at the moment. So we'll have a few weeks of Burnham as Prime Minister. We'll have the Clacton by-election, where the party conference is coming up. I think things will start to clarify in the autumn, but they're a bit cloudy just at the moment.
When you say slightly oddly in that by-election, what do you mean, Peter?
Well, what I mean is that none of the other parties, major parties, are standing, and it looks like a two-way fight between Nigel Farage and Count Binface. I can't imagine that was what Nigel Farage expected to happen when he announced he was standing down and forcing a by-election.
Yes, I suspect not. And Peter, you know what you've done there.
I cannot believe you've done this, Peter.
I love it. You've pressed the big red buzzer, because what you've done is you've mentioned the by-election, and now we need to read out the candidates, and there are 32 of them, I think.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No,
Can
don't
we
be.
redo that? Can we
Don't be, Peter. Don't be sorry, because I tell you what, lots of our listeners absolutely live for this moment. So you've made a lot of people happy, as you do every time you're on this programme. Peter, you're always very welcome back. Thanks very much. That is Peter Kellner there, the former YouGov president.
We're going to do this. I just want to place on record, this is a farcical rule. It is a farcical rule for what appears to be a farcical by-election. And yet we're going to do it. I think what we're going to try and do over the course of the next few months is find funny ways of doing it. I want to do it sped up, Kate. Do you remember one of our listeners wanted us to do the background of Je t'aime?
Well, we'll check about whether we're allowed to do that. But
who cares?
Shall we crack on?
What's the worst that's going to happen?
Well, let's find out. Let's not mess around and find out.
Let's take a risk. Jeopardy.
All right, come on, let's get through these, because we're late for the news already.
We're going to be very late for the news now. Here's the full list of candidates for the by-election in Clacton-on-Sea.
Joseph, 77, Independent.
Adham Al-Khatib, the Forward Party.
Count Binface Party.
Nick, the Incredible Flying Brick, the official monster raving loony party.
Tony Kane, Independent.
Woke Trump Kazi, Independent.
William Stewart James Cluston, Social Democratic Party.
Rhys Cowan, Independent.
Glenn Charles Cummings, Independent.
Martin Davis, Freedom Alliance, Real People, Real Alternative.
Andy Earlham, Independent.
Nigel Farage, Reform UK.
Ati Fard, Independent.
Lawrence Fox, the Reclaim Party.
Tony Francis, Independent.
Robin Green, Independent.
Abby Hookway, Independent.
Howling Lord Hope, the official monster raving loony party.
Stephen Richard Ingram, Independent.
Amy Morris, Independent.
Derek Norbert Morris, Independent.
Michael Noel O'Keefe, Independent.
Martin O'Brien, Independent.
Ketan Kumar Pivalaya, UK Voice, Safer and Stronger UK.
See, you got silly there and you missed out Nick Pellas, who's Independent.
Daniel Pocock. also independent.
James
This is
Ransley,
farcical.
Consensus Party candidate.
Jerry Smith, independent.
Kai Stevens, British Democrat.
John Stevens, rejoin EU.
Baron Ron Thunderclap, the official monster raving loony party.
Pamela Walford, guess what? Independent.
Marcus White, Everyone is God party.
Mark Wilkinson, independent.
And all I'm going to say is the vast majority of names on that list are men. You can see the full list on whocanivotefore.co.uk.
Someone wants me to do it in the Tom Jones voice.
Well,
You
yeah.
can see the full list on whocanivotefore.co.uk.
Okay.